Good morning, friends. Welcome to our Godly Play classroom. We are moving through those green and growing days, getting closer and closer to the purple. I can't wait. During the green and growing days, we learned stories from the Jewish Bible. And these stories are about people just like you and me. They struggle and they make mistakes, but God is always with them. Now, there was once someone who told the people what it was like to be part of the family of God. People followed him, but they were not sure who he was. One day he said, "I am the light." And that light is with us now as we get ready for our story. I hope you'll join me in a comfortable spot so that we can get ready. Let's take a deep breath together. The people of God came into the promised land. And when they came into the promised land, they brought the tent with them. And the tent of God is where they put the ark that held the 10 best ways to live. Now there was a woman named Hannah. And Hannah had a mother's heart, but she had no children. Every year she would go with her husband to the tent of God. And she would stand outside and pray with all of her heart, because she wanted to have a child. One day as she was praying, the priest Eli heard her. And when he came out and saw that she had a strong, courageous mother's heart, he said that God would bless her. Hannah and her husband had a son, and they named him Samuel. And after Samuel grew up to be about your age, his mother Hannah brought him to the tent of God to learn from the priest Eli. Samuel spent every day learning from Eli the 10 best ways to live and how to care for the people of God. And at night, he would be very tired when he went to bed. One night, just as he was drifting off to sleep, he heard a voice, and the voice called his name, Samuel, Samuel. Samuel woke up. He ran into the other room and said, "Eli, here I am." And Eli said, "I didn't call you. Go back to bed." So Samuel went back to bed. He could hear the crickets outside. It was so dark. He started to fall asleep again. And then he heard the voice, "Samuel, Samuel." Samuel jumped up, ran into the other room and said, "Eli, I'm here. What do you need?" And Eli said, "I did not call you. Go back to bed." So Samuel went back to bed. Just as he was drifting off to sleep again, maybe even starting to snore a little bit, he heard the voice, "Samuel, Samuel." Samuel jumped up, ran into the room and said, "Eli, I heard you. What do you need?" And Eli this time said, "If you hear this voice again, you need to say, 'Here I am, Lord. Your servant is listening.'" So Samuel went back to bed and he laid there for a while. Then he started to fall asleep. He was so tired. And he heard the voice again, "Samuel, Samuel." This time Samuel did not jump up and run. He sat still and said, "Here I am, God. Speak. Your servant is listening." God told Samuel that he had chosen him, that he had plans for Samuel's life, and that Samuel was going to bring the message of God to the people. Samuel grew up, and he became a prophet. What is a prophet? A prophet is someone who comes so close to God, and God comes so close to them, that they know God's heart for the people. Samuel became a great prophet because of his mother's love and courage. Now Samuel led the people who were called the Israelites. And the Israelites looked at all the kingdoms around them. They saw that every kingdom had a king. And so they came to Samuel and said, "We want a king too." So Samuel called on a man named Saul to be king. Now Saul was a complicated person. He was a big, strong man. He was a good leader. He was a fighter. Sometimes he was very angry, and sometimes he was very sad, and sometimes he was very scared. For a while, Saul wanted to lead the people in the right way. But after a while, Saul became prideful. He thought he could do everything by himself. He thought, "I don't need God, and I don't need people." And so God came to Samuel and said, "Saul cannot be king anymore. We need to find a new king." So God told Samuel to go to the house of Jesse in the town of Bethlehem. Jesse was the grandson of Ruth. And Samuel said, "Jesse, bring out your sons." And so he brought out his first son. And his first son was tall and strong. And Samuel thought, "Oh, he'll make a great leader." But God said, "Samuel, do not look on the outside. Don't look at how tall he is or his appearance. I don't look at things that people look at. People look at the outward appearance, but I look at the heart." So Jesse brought out another son who was very skillful, and another son who was really smart, and another son who was also really strong. And as each of the sons came out, Samuel thought, "Could be this one. They look like they would make a great leader." But every time God said, "It's not this one." So Samuel said, "Jesse, do you have any more sons, or are these all of your sons?" And Jesse said, "Well, I have one more, but he's the youngest. He's the smallest. He doesn't have the skills of the others. In fact, we left him with the sheep." And Samuel said, "Go and get David." Now David spent his days in the green pastures, caring for his father's sheep. David didn't just care for the sheep, but David was also a musician, and he would play beautiful music on the harp. He played music for the sheep, for the trees, for the babbling brooks. He loved playing music for God. Well, when he found out that his father called him, he went to his father, and that's when God told Samuel, "This is the one." So Samuel took a horn with oil, and this was a sign that David was going to be called to be the new king. God would help David lead the people. I wonder how that felt when David was told he was going to be king over all of Israel. I wonder how his brothers felt. I wonder what it's like to be a shepherd, to be out in the quiet with the sheep. I wonder what it's like to be king. I wonder what God meant when God said that God does not look on the outward appearance, but God looks at the heart. I wonder what your favorite part of this whole story is. Now it's time to change the light. The light that is here at one time in one place is going to spread out. And this light is with you whenever you need it.